Hello and welcome to episode 26 of this Fat Loss in 15 series, I suppose. So, last week we introduced a new structure. Today we're just going to delve right in and start with the personal piece of the episode. And again, I'm trying to share more of my personal life, what's going on behind the scenes, how I'm feeling about myself, my fitness, what's going on in the business, because, when you own a business, your business can become so much of your identity. So today we're going to talk about what I'm calling the May experiment and the life chaos that I've going on right now. So last week we touched on some of the personal stuff that me and Luce have just completed. So we had just done the Belfast Marathon on the 4th of May, which that was 4 days over in Belfast. And then the following week we had a 4th birthday, Boots and Beers, which was a big day out, drinks afterwards. So there was a bit of delay coming off the back of that. This weekend, I'm going over to Spain for a stag do, so that'll be 3 or 4 nights gone. Then, thankfully, I have a weekend off. And then the following weekend after that, I'm up in Pitlochry for another stag do. So, I decided to do what I'm calling the May experiment in May, and that is doubling down on more social media output and really tracking the numbers. So that's extra posts. That's making sure I think it's 2 posts Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 1 post Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and not missing any of those posts for the full 4 weeks. Obviously, I'm posting more, so I'm aiming big, and if I miss big, I'm still going to be posting more than I have previously. And then I've got the other aspects of my social media, which would be my email list, which is just approaching 1,000 people, and we will hit over 1,000 people by the end of the month. So that's absolutely something that I'm absolutely buzzing about. And that is 3 emails per week. It's typically one mindset, kind of value-driven one on a Monday. On the Wednesday, we share social proof and how that occurred. So instead of just saying this is what happened, we're showing you the step-by-steps of how it worked. And then on Sunday, it's kind of just like the thoughts for the week and what I've experienced with clients in the fitness industry, what I've been seeing on social media. So 3 posts every week, making sure that gets done. And then what else? Yeah, 1 of these per week. 1 video converted also into a podcast and sharing this on YouTube. And I'm doing this possibly in the busiest month of my life, but it would have been so easy to just say, no, I'll do it in June. But then we get stuck in this permanent cycle of just putting it off. And I've actually written a post that is going out on Sunday. And this is so relevant to anyone on a fat loss journey. And I know it's relevant to me when running a business. And that is, you don't need more plans. You don't need more ideas. You don't have an idea problem, you have an execution problem. Because when you've got a plan, you've got execution, and you've got consistency, that's what leads to results. But so many people get stuck in the plan phase or the idea phase, and then they don't do anything about it. I always like to say, and it's something that I used to quote quite a lot, I don't know if I do it so much now, and that is nobody lost fat sitting on the couch learning about fat loss. They just got out there. The people that succeed are the ones that get out there and do it anyway, even if they're scared, even if they don't know what they're doing. Just taking action and learning. I know I'm great at learning on the job, so that's why I'm forcing myself to do this sort of stuff, so I can feel more comfortable at it. So then I can maybe expand into some vlogs and really try and grow that personal brand, because I feel like that's the way the world is going. So that is what's going on with the May experiment, tracking all the numbers, see how the business is growing, and if it's actually worthwhile putting all this effort in. And even if it doesn't have a direct return on investment, which will be new client sign-ups and money into the business, it's giving me experience, and it's making me better at speaking on camera. It's making me better at marketing on social media and sharing our journey. And it is always a learning process. I would never see it as a failure. I would always see it as something that has moved the business forward, even if it doesn't have a direct return on investment, because by being better at these things, it will have a return on investment further down the line. And it's always nice to get that confidence boost of doing something that you're really anxious and nervous about doing. Because I actually thought about doing this YouTube channel back in about 2019, and it's taken me 6 years to actually pluck up the courage to do it. And even though I've plucked up the courage to do it, I haven't really advertised it much because it's still making me a wee bit nervous. So that is one of the things that I'm going to push next week, which will be the week that you're watching this, is actually pushing the podcast, pushing the YouTube, so I can get it out to more people, because I now feel much more comfortable with it. Okay. And that is the personal part of this podcast, this YouTube today. And now we're going to talk about the professional or the business side of it. And that was, we had our gym's 4th birthday at the weekend there, which is absolutely mind-boggling to me. I can't believe how quickly that time has gone. I signed a 10-year lease at the start, and I was thinking that is a long time. That is a big commitment, and we're almost halfway through it already. But the one thing that I did want to talk about is it doesn't get easier. Nothing gets easier. It's same with training, same with growing the business, same with just life in general. You just get better at handling the problems. The more success you have, the bigger the problems become. You just get more resilient and you get stronger at dealing with them. So over the last 4 years, the business has gone from strength to strength. We hit a complete bottleneck, so we had to completely restructure the business, which was just under 2 years ago now, which in itself was terrifying. And then after that, we had to regrow the business, and I had to really build the conviction around what we were doing, because it was a big change. And now I've got to the point where I'm feeling more comfortable with that side of the business, and it comes with its own set of issues, but then you get better at dealing with those issues and dealing with those problems. And one thing that I was actually sitting in the gym today after I did a bunch of recording this morning, and it was lunchtime. I was sitting there having my lunch, funnily enough, and the gym was quiet. And if you know where the gym is, it's full glass frontage onto a busy road, and I always used to be almost embarrassed if it was quiet during the day. People driving by, seeing that there was nobody in the gym, and that almost in my head was seeing me as a failure, seeing the business as a failure because the gym was empty. But now, since we actually closed in the middle of the day, I see it as a real nice, relaxing peace of mind time. I sat there, I ate my lunch in the nice warm gym in the nice quiet environment, and I just sat there in silence with Freya snuffling up next to me and enjoyed my lunch, and it was just so peaceful. So yeah, your mindset around things changes, and you get better at dealing with all these stresses, and things that you worried about 5 years ago end up being nothing. So that's where we are with the business right now. Super happy with the direction it's going in. Super happy with how I'm pushing myself to do these things that put me out of my comfort zone. And I don't think it'd be very fair of me to ask our clients to push themselves out of the comfort zone if we weren't willing to do it as well. So now we're on to the fat loss part of the episode. And that is, obviously, I said, we've just done the marathon, and I've spoken about how I did almost like a reverse body composition. And this is something that I've come across a lot, and that is the running for fat loss paradox. So when you run, you obviously put a lot of strain on the body. You burn a lot of calories compared to most things, but you also build a lot of fatigue. So when you're building that huge amount of fatigue, you have to make sure that you're very much ready to deal with the hunger that you're going to get. So what's super common to happen is you run, and let's say you burn 1,000 calories in this run, but because you're so knackered afterwards, if you're not prepared and you're already living a hectic life with kids, you've got a busy career, you've got an avid social life that you don't really want to sacrifice, and if you're not prepared with your meals, it is so easy to overeat your calories. And that was something that I was particularly bad at near the end of the marathon, because as I said last week, you'd run you work 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday, then you'd go straight into a 4-hour run. When you get home, you're tired, you don't want to start cooking, you don't want to have to go to the shops, you just want to eat. And if you're not prepared, it's so easy to overeat and then put on the fat. So you're not seeing a direct correlation between the effort that you're putting in and the results you're getting back out. So that's why I don't think running is a good exercise for fat loss, because it leaves you wanting more. Yes, your heart is going to be super healthy. Yes, your lungs are going to be in great condition. Yeah, you're going to feel super fit. But if you're not doing the weight training alongside that, if you're not super prepared on your diet, you're going to make it difficult on yourself to improve your body composition, especially if you're training for something like a marathon where you are running for such long distances. This is less relevant, I would say, on the shorter distances. But yeah, that was just something that I've come across recently that I'd never really thought about in the past. So walking and weight training and focusing on your diet, focusing on your sleep are what you really want to do. If you're thinking that you need to run for fat loss, don't. You run for fitness, you run for the enjoyment of it, you run for the achievement of it, but you don't run to burn calories and you don't run to lose fat. Okay, that's all I wanted to speak about in the fat loss episode today. And I'm going to have 2 weeks off from doing this, come up with some new topics over the next 2 weeks, and I'm really going to dig deep into this, and we'll maybe cover how the May experiment has gone when we get back. Right, peace out guys, I'll speak to you soon.